What's up, card fighters? BOTCG here. This is going to be my stock updated deck list for DIREFUL dolls. Now, it's going to be a lot less to go over just because we already know this deck from set 1. It did get 2 new support cards, so I'm just going to briefly go over them in the stock deck list deck profile. But yeah, I'm really trying out more or less the purest version of the deck first, and then seeing what non-engine cards I need to add to improve on what I have, what I currently have. But going on to the grade 3s first, we're playing 3 copies of Persona Ride. This deck, it can survive without Persona Ride, but you ideally do want a Persona Ride. It just helps your multi-attacks and helps your Vanguard hit those certain thresholds. In saying that, instead of because this deck actually does care about Persona Riding or not, instead of the Angel Ladder, we are playing the Gratis Grail here. Moving on to the next grade 3s. 4 copies of Libertia. Nothing much to say there. She's like the draw engine / recycler of the deck. 3 copies of Griselda. I've seen a lot of people cut Griselda to 2 or just not straight up play Griselda. I still think Griselda is really good in this deck, especially since it gives you a pseudo early game, but it's really only good at giving you a pseudo early game the more dolls you play, because she can only put dolls from your hand to soul to be able to basically recycle them away. 4 copies of Providencia. It's the multi-attack neighbor, really nothing much to say here. And then this is going to be the new card we're playing. 4 copies of DIREFUL doll Shelby. She has 2 effects, which are very interesting. One is an on-hit, that when it hits a grade 3 greater Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So now she gives this deck access to spot removal. It's on-hit spot removal, but it's spot removal nonetheless. So, and then the first effect is when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, put a unit card of DIREFUL doll in its card name from drop into soul, and this unit gets 5 KNT in that battle for each grade of the card put to soul for this cost, and then at the end of the battle, bind this unit. So this is basically just like another really powerful beater. Like Libertia is already a really good beater. If you put a Libertia into soul, just by herself can be as powerful as Libertia, because it's gonna get plus 15. But it's another beater for the deck, and it does really one important thing, which it recycles more cards into soul, because this deck is generally a grindy deck, and the longer the game goes, the harder it is to recycle your DIREFUL dolls back into soul. So this is just a very nicely added engine piece. That it's a nice addition that it does that in accordance to its power gaining effect. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Slorinia. Again, nothing much to say. 13k attacker or 13k booster, and then it binds itself. 4 copies of Pelagia. Basically one of your best DIREFUL doll pieces. Very good for your setup and also very good defensively in accordance to your DIREFUL doll master's defensive mechanic. So again, not much to say, but again, we're just trying to go as pure as possible. Then I'm not sure if 4 is necessary. Instinctively I want to cut this down to 2, and then I want to put 2 of the Jeweled Cat that lets me countercharge or is a 20k shield in hand. But we're playing 4 copies of DIREFUL doll Zardia. Her effect is auto rear guard. At the end of the battle, it boosted. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard of DIREFUL doll in its name, bind it and energy charge 1. So basically because the way this deck basically wants to grind your opponent out, something else that can be quite problematic is your energy, because this requires 3 energy every time. And you can recycle this every time. It's not too hard to do that with Libertia. But just because you have no energy production in the deck, there's going to be a point where you just can't multi-attack with that anymore. And this kind of very helpfully solves that problem. Which I'm not sure if it's going to be a mandatory 4 of, but we're testing it out at 4, and if 4 feels like too much, I'll cut 1 or 2 and put in those 2 cats. As of right now, that's the one non-engine piece that I'm already thinking about, because this deck doesn't have an in-archetypal way of countercharging. which it doesn't use that much counterblast to begin with, but that's just one thing that I've noticed. 3 DPGs, 1 Blitzorder PG, just for Shiranui. One of the blue OT, again, if you're that, it's just the best stock standard over trigger if you can't use your main nation's over trigger very helpfully. So I've just been a really big fan of this. I've been arguably a bigger fan of this than normal people were when it first came out, because I was like, oh, that's a 100 million critical trigger. That's a no-brainer. Like, the secondary effect has also been it's like a plus whether I get it or not. And then moving on to the rest of the triggers, I have moved from the front triggers to draw triggers now, just because this deck, it can, if you're not already like if you're playing from the back foot, it is a little bit harder for you to procure resources. So just the draw triggers to help net you extra cards is just very helpful in my personal opinion. And because you already have like this really good defensive guarding mechanic, I think you can afford not to play the front triggers, in my personal opinion. 4 into soul crits, 4 regular crits, and then 4 regular heals. These are Direful dolls. Now, no, this isn't as big of a deal anymore because we're not playing Schwartz Sparta, which again, if I feel like it's something that's necessary in the deck, we can make like little tiny adjustments to add those back into the deck. But I wanted to start this profile off with like the most pure bread and butter version of it. But it's still like the name, there's a bunch of cards that still care about Direful doll names. So this is just really good to have still, despite that. And I do know this trigger is getting reprinted in the next extra festival booster when we're getting the Dual Nation cards. So I know this is quite expensive right now. But anyways, guys, that is my current Direful doll deck profile. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's going to be Dark States week this week. And yeah. Also, I haven't forgotten about the Q&A. We will have the Q&A. That's going to be at the end of this week, Friday. That's when officially we're going to have the Q&A / giveaway. So also be on the lookout for that. Y'all have a great night.